For my math book, I picked Pete the Cat and His Four Groovy Buttons by Eric Litwin. And my listening strategy is I would give my students 4 counters, or what I have as pennies. And when I would say a number, they would hold up that many and we would count them. And then throughout the story, we would take away as Pete lost his buttons. Pete the Cat put on his favorite shirt with 4 big, colorful, round, groovy buttons. He loved his buttons so much he sang this song. Okay, how many buttons did he have? 4. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. My buttons, my 4 groovy buttons. My buttons, my 4 groovy buttons. Pop! Oh no! One of the buttons popped off and rolled away. How many buttons does he have left? So if one popped off, we're going to take one away. So let's count. 1, 2, 3. He has 3. 4 minus 1 equals 3. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. He kept on singing his song. My 3 groovy buttons. My 3 groovy buttons. Pop! Oh no! Another button popped off and rolled away. How many buttons does he have left? So if we have 3 and we take 1 away, how many does he have? Let's count. 1, 2. 2. 3 minus 1 equals 2. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. He kept on singing his song. My 2 groovy buttons. My 2 groovy buttons. Pop! Oh no, another button popped off and rolled away. How many buttons does he have left? He had 2 and 1 fell off. How many did he have left? 1. Let's see. 1. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. He kept on singing his song. My 1 groovy button. My 1 groovy button. Pop! Oh no! The last button popped off and rolled away. How many buttons does he have left? So he had 1 left and 1 came off. How many does he have? 0. 0. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Did Pete cry? Goodness no. Buttons come and buttons go. Pete looked down at his buttonless shirt, and what do you think he saw? His belly button. He kept on singing his song. It's all good. My button. I still have my belly button. My button. I still have my belly button. I guess it simply goes to show that stuff will come and stuff will go. But do we cry? Goodness no. We keep on singing. Buttons come and buttons go. So in using this book, you can start with teaching your students subtraction easily with small numbers like 4, take away 1, and so forth. The next book I'm going to read is The Artist by Tommy DePallo. And for this lesson, I'm going to use a crayon. So each time I say the word draw, the students are going to hold up their crayon. Tommy knew he wanted to be an artist when he grew up. He drew pictures everywhere he went. It was his favorite thing to do. His friends had favorite things to do. Jack collected all kinds of turtles. Herbie made huge cities in the sandbox. Jenny, Tommy's best friend, could do cartwheels and stand on her head, but Tommy drew, and drew. His twin cousins, who were already grown up, were in art school, learning to be real artists. They told him not to copy and to practice, so he did. Tommy put his pictures up on the walls of his half of the bedroom. His mom put them up all around the house. His dad took them to the barber shop where he worked. Tom and Nana, Tommy's Irish grandfather and grandmother, had his pictures in their grocery store. Nana Fall River, his Italian grandmother, put one in a special frame on the table next to the photograph of Aunt Chloe in her wedding dress. Once Tommy took a flashlight and pencil under the covers and drew pictures on his sheet. But when his mom changed the sheets on Monday and found them, she said, "No more drawing under the sheets, Tommy." His mom and dad were having a new house built, so Tommy drew pictures of what it would look like when it was finished. When the walls were up, one of the carpenters gave Tommy a piece of blue chalk. Tommy took the chalk and drew beautiful pictures all over the unfinished wall. But when the painters came, his dad said, "That's it, Tommy. No more drawing on the walls." Tommy couldn't wait to go to kindergarten. His brother Joe told him there was a real art teacher who came to the school to give art lessons. "When do we have art lessons?" Tommy asked the kindergarten teacher. "Oh, you won't have your art lessons until next year," said Miss Bird, "but we're going to paint pictures tomorrow." It was much fun. The paint was awful and the paper got all wrinkly. Miss Bird made the paint by pouring different colored powders into different jars and mixing them with water. The paint didn't stick to the paper very well and it cracked. If it was windy, when Tommy carried his picture home, the paint blew right off the paper. "At least you get more than one piece of paper in kindergarten," his brother Joe said. "When the art teacher comes, you only get one piece." Tommy knew that the art teacher came to the school every other Wednesday. He could tell she was an artist because she wore a blue smock over her dress and she always carried a big box of thick colored chalk. Once Tommy and Jeannie looked at the drawings that were hung up in the hallway. They were done by the first graders. "Your pictures are much better," Jeannie told Tommy. "Next year when we have real art classes, you'll be the best one." Tommy could hardly wait. He practiced all summer. Then on his birthday, which was right after school began, his mom and dad gave him a box of 64 Crayola crayons. Regular boxes of crayons had red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, brown, and black. This box had so many other colors: blue, violet, turquoise, red, orange, pink, and even gold, silver, and copper. "Class," said Miss Landers, "the first grade teacher next month. The art teacher will come to our room, so on Mondays, instead of singing, we will practice using our crayons." On Monday, Tommy brought his 64 crayons to school. Miss Landers was not pleased. "Everyone must use the same crayons," she said, "school crayons." School crayons had only the same old 8 colors. As Miss Landers passed them out to the class, she said, "These crayons are school property, so do not break them, peel off the paper, or wear down the points." "How am I supposed to practice being an artist with school crayons?" Tommy asked Jack and Herbie. "That's enough, Tommy," Miss Landers said, "and I want you to take those birthday crayons home with you and leave them there." And Joe was right. They only got one piece of paper. Finally, the day of the art lesson came. Tommy could hardly sleep that night. The next morning, he hid the box of 64 crayons under his sweater and went off to school. He was ready. The classroom door opened, and in walked the art teacher. Miss Landers said, "Class, this is Miss Bowers, the art teacher. Patty, who is our paper monitor this week? We'll give out one piece of paper to each of you. And remember, don't ruin it because it's the only piece you'll get. Now pay attention to Miss Bowers." "Class," Miss Bowers began, "because Thanksgiving is not too far away, we will learn to draw a pilgrim man, a pilgrim woman, and a turkey. Watch carefully and copy me." Copy? Tommy knew that real artists didn't copy. This was terrible. This was supposed to be a real art lesson. He folded his arms and just sat there. "Now, what's the matter?" Miss Landers asked. Tommy looked past her and spoke right to Miss Bowers. "I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, and my cousins told me that real artists don't copy. And besides, Miss Landers won't let me use my own 64 Crayola crayons." Well, Miss Bowers said, "what are we going to do?" She turned to Miss Landers, and they whispered together. Miss Landers nodded. "Now, Tommy," Miss Bauer said, it wouldn't be fair to let you do something different from the rest of the class. But I have an idea. If you draw the Pilgrim man and woman and the turkey, and if there's any time left, I'll give you another piece of paper, and you can do your own picture with your own crayons. Can you do that?" "I'll try," Tommy said with a big smile. And he did. And he did. And he still does. So in doing that listening activity, the students have to really pay attention and listen when I say the word draw so they can lift up the crayon. For my concept book, I picked Bear Snores On. And for this book, I printed off, my printer was out of ink, but I printed off 3 pictures so the students can lift them up when the characters in the book do something that animals don't normally do. In a cave in the woods, in his deep, dark lair, through the long, cold winter, sleeps a great brown bear. Cuddled in a heap, with his eyes shut tight, he sleeps through the day, he sleeps through the night. The cold winds howl, and the night sounds growl, but the bear snores on. An itty-bitty mouse, pitter-pat, tiptoe, creep crawls in the cave from the fluff cold snow. Mouse squeaks. Too damp, too dank, too dark, so he lights wee twigs with a small hot spark. The coals pip-pop and the wind doesn't stop, but the bear snores on. 2 glowing eyes, sneak peek in the den. Mouse cries, "Who's there?" And Hare hops in. "Ho, Mouse," says Hare, "long time no see." So they pop white corn and they brew black tea. Mouse sips wee slurps, Hare burps big burps, but the bear snores on. A badger scuttles by, sniff snuffs at the air. "I smell yummy yums, perhaps we can share." "I've brought honey nuts," Badger says with a grin. "Let's divvy them up, cozy down, and dig in." And they nibble and they munch with a chew chomp crunch, but the bear snores on. So as you can see, as we continue with the story, different animals show up. So each time that the animals would do something that the animals don't normally do, they would hold up this picture to show that the animals were talking, this one to show that animals were drinking, and this one to show that animals were cooking. A gopher and a mole tunnel up through the floor. Then a wren and a raven flutter in through the door. Mo mutters, "What a night! What a storm!" Tritters win, and everybody clutters in the great bear's den. They tweet and they titter, they chat and they chitter, but the bear snores on. In a cave in the woods, a slumbering bear sleeps through the party in his very own lair. Hare stokes the fire, Mouse seasons stew. Then a small pepper flake makes the bear achoo! He blows and he snoozes, and the whole crowd freezes, and the bear wakes up. Bear gnarls and he snarls, bear roars and he rumbles, bear jumps and he stomps, bear growls and he crumbles. "You've snuck in my lair and you've had all the fun, but me, I was sleeping and I've had none." And he whimpers and he moans, he wails and he groans, and the bear blubbers on. Mouse squeaks, "Don't fret, don't fuss. Look, see, we can pop up more corn, we can brew up more tea." Bear gulps, bear gobbles, he sighs with delight. Then he spins tall tales through the blustery night. When the sun peeks up on a crisp, clear dawn, Bear can't sleep, but his friends snore on. So in choosing this book, you can talk about nonfiction or fairy tales and how animals are doing things that they're not supposed to do.